प्रोजेक्टर डना फिर 3 लाख रुपए उसके ऊपर नहीं। और स्क्रीन तो देख लेना, कोई भी डाल देना, जो भी 20,000 रुपये तक 150 इंच दे देगा वो वाला स्क्रीन चल जाएगी। ओके, ठीक है। Now, this is one of the most common conversations that I have come across, especially with a home theater buyer who feels that buying a projector is most important part. Screen can be anything, कुछ भी चलेगा. Well, that is totally wrong. And the reason why it is wrong, because projector is just going to be half responsible for your video quality. The other half is going to come from the screen. And that is why in my today's video, I am going to share with you 5 most important things that you need to consider while buying projector screen and why you cannot ignore or neglect a projector screen. So let's begin. Let us start with the first thing that you always have to consider, which is all about operating the screen. Now, this operation can be with a remote, which looks fancy, but some people feel that's unnecessary. The second operation is manual, which is manual or insta-lock, where you manually operate the screen and pull it down. And the third operation is where you don't have to do anything. The screen is hung up on the wall like a frame, which is called as the fixed frame screen. Now, these are the main 3 types of screens available in the market. Now, based upon the room that you will be installing it, you can decide which screen works for you. Now, here are some common pointers. A manual screen or an install-lock screen works great in terrace, outdoor areas, or even in the living room or bedroom. Especially if you have bought a portable projector, buying a manual screen is a fantastic idea because it's a budget-friendly approach. The only downside is that when you do a manual install-lock screen and you operate it using the lever of your hand and the screen, when you pull down the screen, it starts forming V shapes or V wrinkles. And that is where the fabric will start having a lot of greases and you will not see a nice uniform movie or an image on the screen. Now, for these reasons, manual screens are generally not recommended for 100 inches or above that. Anything under 100 or up to 100 is fine, but anything above should be avoided. And you should look for the next type of screen, which is the motorized screen. Now, motorized screen, the operation is simple. You use a remote control and the motor takes care of the screen rolling up and down. That is one of the best choices, especially if you're looking to hide the screen in the ceiling and then bring it down nice fancily in your living rooms or bedrooms. But when you're considering it for a cinema room, then motorized screens will always have limitations because you don't want that operation to be constantly happening in the room and taking a lot of time. You want something which is fixed and permanent on the wall. And that is where the fixed frame screen will always win over any of these because these are fabrics which are stretched from all the 4 sides, making the screen extremely intact, extremely tight, and the image super smooth on the screen. Now, these are the 3 main broader types. In the motorized screens, there are further variants called as tap tension screens, floor rise up screens, ceiling recess screens, which I'm not going to take too much of time over here. But if you want to know those details, please check this video. Okay, now let's address the biggest debate. Can my wall work as a good projector screen? Well, technically, yes, you can. But in reality, it is not going to be the best option. And I am going to tell you why. Well, first of all, the walls, how much ever uniform they are, or how much ever good projector paint you use, it is still not going to deliver a nice, uneven image on the screen because it's wall, right? It is not going to have the same uniformity that you will have with a fabric. The second and the most important reason is that we live in a country like India where we are surrounded by too much of dust. And when this dust starts accumulating on the wall, the reflection gain of that fabric or of that wall is going to start diminishing. And the moment you hold a piece of fabric, you will see that the fabric is now giving out a much more better image, which is far more brighter than what your wall can reflect. And for those reasons, always believe in going for a good fabric screen. Let us now dive further into the types of fabrics for a projector screen. The first one, which is most of the times used everywhere, is the matte white fabric screen. Then you have the high gain matte white fabric. Then we have a fabric which is referred as the ALR fabric, stands for ambient light rejection. Then you have the acoustic perforated, then we have acoustic woven, multiple types of fabrics available for the screen. Now, what are these fabrics and why are they important? Well, each of the fabric solves a particular purpose. For instance, if you're looking to put a projector screen in the living room or a bedroom and the consumption is going to be during the daytime or with lights on, then you need a fabric which is ALR fabric, where the ALR or the gray color of that fabric of that ALR will actually work in absorbing the ambient light, and yet it will still take care of the projector's need to give you a nice colorful image on the screen. The second type of fabric, which is the high gain matte white fabric or a regular matte white fabric. The differentiation between these two is going to be related to the third point where we'll make it further clear. So I'm not going to talk more about it, but these are budgetary fabrics which can work fantastic in dark rooms. So in the most of the cinema rooms, we prefer not to use ALR but just go for a normal white fabric screens. Then you have acoustic perforated and acoustic woven fabrics. These two types of fabrics are specially used when you have speakers behind the screen. So if you want the sound to come out from the screens, they need to have some space to come out, and that is where the acoustic fabrics will always work better in these cases. The third thing that really matters while buying a projector screen is the reflection gain and the viewing angle. Now, most of the projector screens have got these two parameters or two specifications. The first one is reflection gain. Reflection gain is more like a measure to tell you how much light is going to be reflected back from the fabric of the screen. And that is where the differentiation of the earlier mentioned matte white and high gain matte white stands for. So here's a small example. Imagine you're buying a normal matte white screen which is 1.1 or a 1.2 reflection gain, versus if you buy a high gain matte white screen which is of 1.4 to 1.5 reflection gain. Which of these two do you think is going to give us the best quality results for your home theater purpose? Let me know your answer in the comments. Now, if reflection gain is clear to you, let us understand the viewing angle. Now, viewing angle is important for the screens because each fabric has got different viewing angles. While most of the white fabrics will give you 170 to 180 degree, the ALR fabrics or the gray color fabrics will always be between 90 degrees to 180 degrees. Now, wider the viewing angle, better is the coverage for the audience, and each and every seat of your home theater is going to get an immersive experience. If it's a shorter viewing angle, then you will have very less number of seats in that immersive experience zone of the projector screen. So that's why make sure to check the reflection gain and the viewing angle of each and every screen that you will buy for your home theater. Now let's get to a point which is going to either make or break your experience. Because we have already figured out on the type of the screen, we have already figured out on the type of the fabric of the screen. But the most important question is the right screen size that will work in my setup for a great home cinema experience. And this is going to be dependent upon multiple factors. The first factor is the viewing distance. Lot many theories will tell you just have your viewing distance, multiply it by 0.5 and see what is the value. That value is nothing but the height of your screen. Scientifically sounds fine and works great. But do you know what is the height of that screen and what is the diagonal of that screen? You won't, because the screen is in a 16:9 ratio. So when I say 100 inches screen, nobody will be able to tell me immediately what is the height and the width of it. Now that is why, to make your job easy, I am going to share a link of a special design tool on our website which can be used to understand the right calculations. So if you want to know what is 120 inches height and width, please use this link above and go to the screen size calculator. Similarly, if to those of you who want to know that what is the right screen size for my viewing distance, you can check the throw distance calculator or the viewing distance calculator. Because this viewing distance calculator will tell you the right screen size according to the distances. So based upon the THX standard, what is the best viewing distance for a particular screen size can be checked here. Now by doing this, you will be able to understand what works for you in your environment. Lastly, we all need to understand that screens are after all a product which can have some sort of errors or problems. Especially if it's a motorized screen, you will have motor related issues, or you can have screen sensor or the screen battery related issues. In these cases, the brand or the product that you are buying needs to give you a good after sale support. Similarly, for those of you who are buying a manual screen, the manual screen works on a spring mechanism. Now, if the spring gets locked, your screen is screwed, and that is why you also need an after sale support. And lastly, for my friends who are buying a fixed frames projector screens, for you guys, the fabric needs to be available even over a period of time. You can have some issues where the spring or the rubber which is used to fit the fabric to the frame of the screen can get loosened up. In such cases, you again need a good service support or a backup from the company. And that is why please check the brand and their response or their reviews before making the right screen selection. Now, to complete your immersive home cinema experience, we have already ticked off how to select a good projector screen. But if you want to know something more about how to go about your room aesthetics in terms of the wall colors, the ceiling colors, the light fittings, the acoustics, or the curtains, please don't forget to watch our playlist on some of the best setup tours that we have done and we have executed for clients across India. And in case you want to design your home theaters too, don't forget to check the link shared in the description as well as in the pinned comment. Thank you so much for watching. I, Tanmay Mehta, your home cinema consultant or home theater wale bhaiya, will see you again in the next video. Thank you.